This is the third year of the ruler of the jungle, and I have never heard Bengals fans more excited about the selection than they are this week for one of the greatest leaders in franchise history, A.J. Green.
Throws for A.J. Green.
Yeah.
He leaps. He's got it. Touchdown, Adriel. Jeremiah Green back where he belongs.
A.J., when the team reached out, what was your reaction?
I'm honored to come back. It was just like an honor, man. I loved it. I loved it.
Why do you still have such great feelings about the franchise and the city?
I think for me, it's just, we didn't leave on bad terms. It's just every good thing has to end. And I understood the business side of football. Man, they took care of me for 10 years. And a lot of people don't last 10 years in one spot. So I'm very honored to last that long in one organization. And they were the first organization who gave me my chance. And you know, they're just great people. The Brown family are great people, man. And they handle all my situations, even when I got hurt, is always out of respect. And that's the least I can do is, come back and be a fan and I just want that organization to win.
When you left, you didn't really get a chance to say goodbye in person, and Bengals fans didn't get a chance to give you the tribute that they would have liked to have given you. Does this ceremony feel like there's a little bit of that?
Yeah, of course. When you leave and you still want to play. So coming back here after everything's done, when I'm done playing, is sweet. It's better than I'm being somewhere else and then I got to come back. But to be done with football and come back to the place that I became A.J. Green is unbelievable.
Let's turn the clock back to April of 2011. The Panthers take Cam Newton with the first pick. The Broncos take Von Miller with the second. The Bills take Mr. Big Stuff, Marcel Darius, with the third. And now the Bengals are on the clock. Did you know you were going to be the pick? And what do you remember about that night?
Oh, man, the crazy thing, I didn't know I was going to the Bengals because I got a call from Atlanta. And I'm like, oh, are you going to Atlanta? But I guess it's somebody playing tricks on me. Like, we made the pick. Like, I'm answering my phone at the 404 number. I'm like, what in the world's going on? Like, Atlanta don't have the fourth pick. But like, yeah, we're taking you. We got the fourth pick. And I hung up. I'm like, this is weird. And then I got a 513 number calling me, and it's Herb. And we just selected you number 4. So I'm like, what is going on? And he was like, no, you're about to be a Bengal. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it was exciting, man. Just to get my name called that early. There was a lot of emotions, all the work that you put in your whole life to get to this point, man, it paid off, and I couldn't be more happy.
At that point, Chad Johnson was still on the Bengals roster. He didn't get traded for a few months until after the draft. Did you think about the possibility of you and Chad being teammates?
Of course. I'm thinking about Chad. I'm thinking about T.O. I'm thinking like Carson. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be the young buck. I can go out there just like contribute a little bit. Don't have to do too much. Learn from the guys. Learn from some future Hall of Famers.
After picking you in round 1, the Bengals obviously took Andy Dalton in round 2, and for 8 years it was the Andy and AJ show. Did the two of you hit it off right away, and if so, why?
Yeah, of course. I think for us to come in together, when you come in with a guy in your class, you always create that bond. And I think Andy and I created that bond from day one. We both come from humble beginnings, both great families, and we both had, want to win. And he came from a great program at TCU. He did some great things. And then we grew together. And to this day, we still we're family. I saw him last week. We went out to dinner, and it was fun, but that's my guy, no matter what, just family now. So
your first 7 years were basically as good as any wide receiver in NFL history. Do you have a favorite game, a favorite moment, a favorite catch, any sort of favorite thing that sticks out?
Andy and I were just talking about that, like what with, some of our favorite moments. I think for me, it was the Seattle game when Seattle was coming off that Super Bowl in 2015 when we beat them at home. When I've had some great catches and Andy was playing at an MVP level that year before he got hurt. And then probably one of my favorite catches probably is the playoff game, that night game with the Steelers. Even though we lost, that's probably one of the highlights of my career, just scoring that potential game winner. It didn't happen that way, but should have happened that way, but probably one of my best catches. But Seattle game was good, and then Baltimore when I had like 200 yards, that was a good game.
It's appropriate you are the ruler of the jungle in a game against Baltimore because you tormented the Ravens throughout your career. John Harbaugh famously said it would be nice just once to cover AJ before he retires.
I got the best of them a couple of times, but we used to. It's probably one of the hardest hitting games. Your body feel a little sore, more sore than other weeks.
So let's talk about the current team. They had a subpar performance in week one. Obviously, that happens from time to time. What would be your advice to the guys if you had the opportunity to visit with them this week?
And I don't think there's nothing I can tell them. I think they already played at the highest level, and that's playing in the Super Bowl. So I understand. They know. I think when that year they had that run, or even last year they started up 0-2. Joe missed a lot of training camp, so he still got to get the field back. So it's a long season. They're gonna be fine. They got great defense, great offense, and they're led by one of the greatest, and that's Joe. He is a leader of men, and these guys, whoever's gonna be in this room, he's gonna lead them, and they're gonna follow him. And you're seeing it right now. I call him a young Tom Brady. The way he carries himself. I've been around Tom Brady a couple of times, and they got the same demeanor. I remember in the first meeting, Joe stood up and he told that story about when he was in high school and one of his friends got picked on, and he cried and he was in tears up there. And I'm looking over to some of the older guys. I'm like, this guy got it.
I asked your former teammate Tyler Boyd about you recently. Here's what he said. AJ is one of the greatest dudes I ever met. He does everything right. He never gets in trouble, never does stupid stuff. He's the perfect example of being a football player and a man. That's leadership. How did you try to lead?
For me, like, as you know, Dan, I'm not really the biggest vocal person in the room. So I lead more of my example of what I do on and off the field. And I think that's just who I am. That's how I teach my boys to treat everybody with respect, carry yourself with respect, on and off, be a good teammate, be a good leader. And I think that's the all aspects of being a great athlete is you got to have everything. You got to just not on the field, off the field as well. And that's the way I carried myself. I wanted to be just as great off the field that I wanted to be on the field.
You didn't overlap with Jamar Chase. What stands out when you watch him play?
He's big, physical, but he can take the top off. And you can see it. He can make all the hard catches, and then he can just run past you. And that's one thing about the Bengals. They're going to draft great receivers.
Bengals fans are over the moon that you are going to be the ruler of the jungle this week. Thank you for a decade of great football in Cincinnati and for all you have meant to this franchise. I appreciate your time today, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend.
All right, thank you, Dan.